So first things first, just to say this session is being recorded. Although when we share it later on, some of the dates will obviously remove any mention of yourselves and all the rest of that sort of good stuff. I just wanted to let you know. So thank you for joining us for today's session. This is fourth or fifth one this year, and we've covered all sorts of topics, everything from contact center. We did CRM and CE. We've done AI. We've done all sorts. We thought we would come back to sort of business applications basics, I suppose, and grounding within finance in the finance world, but finance with a twist. So finance with AI. And we called it Modern Finance for Public Sector. Really is Dynamics 365 Finance plus AI. So this session today is going to be a rapid whistle-stop tour of all the best features of Dynamics 365 Finance, but how those features themselves are enhanced with AI applications. So we're going to show you some stuff, we're going to talk through some bits, and then we're going to demo bits and pieces and just take it a little bit further and show you some real stuff, which I hope you get a lot of value from. So without further ado, my name is Michael Lonnan. Hello, everyone, and I'm Head of Public Sector Marketing at HSO. Now, if nothing else, I'm a fairly useful contact to know, purely because if you want anything, need anything in the Microsoft technology world, you want assistance, questions answered, I'm a really good contact to have. In fact, I'm your first point of call if you want to know anything at all. And I'm ably joined, or more than ably joined, by my colleague, Gary. Say hello, Gary.
Yeah, hi everyone. Gary Griffiths, and I head up finance transformation at HSO.
And what Gary doesn't know about finance isn't worth knowing. All right. So without further ado, this is the agenda. It's blissfully simple. I'm going to do a really quick introduction to HSO and some of the bits and pieces around that. Then I'm going to hand over to Gary. He's going to start to pick into the features and functionalities and the good stuff within Dynamics 365 Finance. Then he's going to layer on top the AI element, and he's going to show you some demos and talk through some bits and pieces there. And then I'm going to finish, and I'm going to finish with a couple of really simple asks. Your next actions, it's going to be so simple. You're going to enjoy it. So a little bit about who HSO is. All right, so I did think about this and a little bit about HSO. So we are a Microsoft only organization. That means the only thing we care about, the only technology we implement is Microsoft. Now, as a services organization, because that's really what we are a people organization, I suppose, more than anything. As much as you guys in public sector are people, resident and citizen organizations, you're helping your residents and citizens get more value, you're helping them and assisting to help their lives become better. And we're just an organization that helps you do that. And really what it comes down to is the technology you implement from Microsoft, we want to make sure that you get value for it so that it helps you do your jobs better. That's really as simple as it is, nothing more than that. Now, how do we do that? In several ways, I suppose. I'll put this overly colorful slide in here just to say a couple of really simple things. Now, the approach that we take as an organization is that we take a standardized sort of templated approach where we can. We want to make sure as part of that getting value from your investments is that, you know, the technology you're putting in place isn't complicated, isn't massively over engineered and over configured and all the rest of these sorts of things. It is as standalone as you can get it with a few tweaks on it to make sure that you can use it and you get some value from it as well. And then also in terms of getting investment, return on investment from that as well, we want to make sure that as a standardized template approach, it's not really, really, really expensive and typically as finance systems can often become. So we want to make sure that these templated approaches mean that they don't cost you an arm and a leg. And also from that perspective of, I suppose we've been around for quite a while. We have a set of methodologies and modular approaches and accelerators, I suppose, that means that we can also get a lot of this technology in pretty fast as well. So there's a couple of things. So we do cover all of the stack, as I'll go on to quickly say in just a second, but there's probably three main core areas or bits of IP, I suppose, that are really specific to public sector, to you guys. And that's our information governance accelerator. So that's everything from managing from FOIs, SARs, complaints management, waste management, those sorts of things. We have specific modulistic, that's a terrible phrase, isn't it? But it's a specific set of modules that you can implement really quickly out of the box for peanuts. That means you can get value from that, from those solving those types of challenges really quickly. We've got an MVP for finance as well. I know Gary's going to dig into the actual platforms itself, but from the perspective of being able to get you a full enterprise solution, finance solution, we have an MVP that you can also tap into. We have agentic AI solutions, again, which I'll pick into a couple of those in just a second. And obviously, Gary's going to show you some more that relate specifically to finance and the ongoing support services. I would say that's around kind of continuous improvement. Again, that message of trying to get value out of your Microsoft investments, and around change management, I suppose. So making sure that your organization is well set to using that technology. Now, as I say, we cover the full Microsoft stack, but we also cover a lot of different industries as well. And the only reason I put this up here is because a lot of our commercial expertise, commercial now, so working with retailers, manufacturers, professional services, some of that information, some of that knowledge actually is really useful in doing public sector implementations as well. So a lot of what we do commercially trickles and finds its way into the implementations we do in public sector, which actually we find really helps because the organizations operate more or less like businesses, right? And just to say that I could say lots of things, it goes on to say lots of things, but just to say that it's supported by the fact that we have all of the Microsoft designations as well. So we are a pretty well-respected partner from that perspective. And we're also in Microsoft's inner circle. So that's for the top 1% part of partners. And all that really means is that we get to influence, we get to slightly shape the direction of technology as it ends up with you. So we try and make it right for you effectively. Now, I don't like talking about history and all that sort of jazz. Where's the value in that? There isn't a great deal. Suffice to say just one thing. Because we've been going around for 30 plus years, we have so much experience. I'll tell you what, we've got a lot of projects wrong and a lot of projects haven't quite gone the way we would have liked them to have gone. But what that does is that informs and helps you learn and develop your approach, your processes to implementing Microsoft technology into the future. What that means is that all of the processes we take today, all the accelerators we've built, all the templates we've got are grounded in success, which means that you're going to get the very best technology solution that you want based on that experience. We work with organizations like Met Office, where we're doing finance, Amnesty International, where they were implementing CE or Microsoft Dynamics CE. Project wasn't quite going so well, so we picked that up for them. British Heart Foundation, where we've got first and second line support of their systems. South Gloucestershire Council, which is a CRM system. Now we're deploying contact center and complaints management. Basildon Council, where we've deployed 3 agents. GLL, another finance project. Isle of Wight, where we've developed their data strategy. Kent County Council, where we've implemented a Power Platform Centre of Excellence as well. And a whole host of others. The point being is that wherever your challenges are and whatever technology you're looking to implement, HSO is a pretty good partner if you want to look there. So without further ado, I will now quiet down and pass over to Gary, who's going to pick it up from here. So Gary, you could share your screen and then give us the good stuff.
Yeah, will do. Hi, everyone. So yeah, what I wanted to do today was just have a quick view about what Microsoft Dynamics Finance looks like, how it works, and link that into how we're seeing, I guess, the core platform supporting more of a modern view around how finance teams run their departments. So without further ado, I wanted to just jump straight into the tool. I think there's a lot of functionality that the core finance and operations system does that most legacy ERPs don't. I just wanted to capture a few of those. But before I go into that level of detail, I just wanted to give you a quick tour really about how the system works. So this, what we're seeing here, this is our landing page. So this is what everyone that would log in would see. I've got access to everything. So system admin users, I have access to all modules and workspaces within the tool. I think what's important is that the tool is very much roles based. So if you're someone that's a purchase ledger clerk and only working, say, 1 or 2 of the modules, that's all you would see, and that can be set at a global level. So on the left-hand side here, we've got our home, favorites, and recents. So the idea of these is that they're very much quick and easy ways to allow the user to access the information that they need to see. The modules, these are all of the different modules that you'd expect to see as a finance department, and all of the others. And what we're seeing on here, these are all of the functionality within each of the modules. So I think what's important in pretty much all of them is that we have a workspace. This is somewhere where we can do something, like do a task or find a piece of information. We have a number of inquiries and reports, and then we have loads of periodic tasks, and then eventually going into more of the setup, and all of them are set up in the same way. I think what's really important though, what Dynamics excels at, is that we have these workspaces. So each of these down here, this is a piece of functionality that a user would expect to see. So as an example, and I'll show you this one in a minute, the account reconciliation workspace. This is a tool that allows us to do reconciliations between subledgers and GLs using agentic AI, and that would any differences between those would be pulled out. So within this section here, we've got a calendar, so any tasks that we've got would appear in here. Any items assigned to me, so these are approvals of what purchase requisitions and time, would appear here. I think what's important to know is that Dynamics has full mobile capability as well. So if we want to embed these approvals into Teams or into our mobile app or into email, that's something that's very easy to do. So it doesn't mean that the users have to log into the tool on a daily basis. We have a number of apps at the top here, and a couple to point out. So Business Performance Analytics and Business Performance Planning, these are our extended planning and analytics tools. So Business Performance Analytics is an analytics tool based around Power BI. Business Performance Planning is a planning tool for forecasting, again built on Power BI, but it's got a number of tools in there that aid that performance. Finance agents, I'll show you in a minute. That's very much linking to Excel. And just another one that I think is interesting as well. So invoice capture, Dynamics now has full OCR capabilities embedded within the tool as well. So you don't need to go to third parties for a lot of this functionality. It's now embedded within the standard. Just up the top here, so GBSI is the legal entity that I'm in. For those of you that have multiple legal entities within your jurisdictions, this is a multi-legal entity tool. So if I wanted to change to the legal entity that I'm working in, it's very easy for me to do that and select the one I need to go into. It's got full consolidation functionality as well. So I've got a group here that's set up, and that allows me to roll up all my numbers into that group position so that I can see the group as required. A couple of other pieces to add on to here. So Copilot, as you can imagine, Microsoft are now embedded Copilot into a lot of the pieces. This one here is our standard Copilot sidebar. But if I wanted to ask it something that's in relation to how to do a task, I can type in here, how do I raise a general journal? And I can set that off. And what this will do, this will go across into the Microsoft Learn pages onto the internet, if that's what we set it up to do. And it will pull the information about how I do this. So I can then start to have a look and see which modules, which workspaces I need to go into to prepare to do this. And I can follow this down as I need to. So just using the same example, I'm going to access this quite quickly, but it's a good place to have a look at some of the functionality that we've got in the tool. So if I go into the general journal processing, this is one of the workspaces. So at the top here, this is very much the tiles that allow us to do something or to pull some information. And these are all configurable as well. So you can see up top here that I've got my view. If I change something down here, so for example, if description isn't something I need to see, I can simply drag that across. And you can see here it's got a little star now. So I can save this and potentially publish it. But where this is important is if I right click on here and I insert columns, within this front screen, I do have the option as well to add all of these different fields. So as we go through for a user, if it's something that I need to see that's not on my front screen, to avoid me having to click through to multiple places, I can add all of those into this front screen on here. And then just at the bottom here, we've got some links into some other useful areas within the tool. So just for completeness, I'll click into one of the journals so that you can see. So at the top here, you can see we've got a number of different things that we can do. So post validation. I think validation is important. So one, it makes sure that all of the postings are done in relation to the rules that we set up within the accounting structures. Down here, you can see that we've got budget checks. So we've got budgetary control within the tool as well. And you can see here as well that it's quite easy to see that from a local currency or a reporting currency, should they be different, the system is also validating that our journals are also balancing. As you go through as well, top right hand corner over here, you can see we've got this little paper clip. So if I click on that, what that allows us to do is it allows us to attach evidence to the base transactions. So if you could imagine one of your teams is raising a journal, they need to add some evidence to that or have some, then we have the option to add files, images, notes, or URLs into that. So what that means is that rather than trying to hide or hold your evidence for journals or month-end tasks in a SharePoint, we can simply add them to the transaction. So when it comes to something like auditing or compliance checks, we have the evidence for those journals attached into here as well. And also we do have full digital workflow functionality. So whether that be for posting of journals, completion of a month-end task, or even approval of something like a purchase requisition, all of that is done electronically in the system as well. I think the last thing to show on this screen, so top right hand corner here, we do have the option to open in Excel. And I think what I really like about this, so Blue Peter style, I did open one up earlier, which I'll drag across onto this screen. So you can see the journal that I was looking at. The system's automatically created the template which shows all the information from the main tool. This data connector here, this is a live data connector back into the ERP. And where this is really useful is if I click on main account as an example and I need to change that, it adds in all of the different options that I've got around my GL that I can select directly within this template. And if I change anything in here and I need to publish it, it will then publish it straight back into the main tool as well, which I think is a really nice functionality. And this is great for up to sort of 5,000 to 10,000 lines. So all of your month-end journals, whether they be recurring or standard, imports of things like budgets, payroll journals, it can all be done via this, validated before it goes into the tool. And I think that's really nice to have. Okay, so just quickly jumping back into my presentation. So this is the landing page as we've just seen. I think it's really important just to not underestimate the standard features that the tool has. As you can imagine, we've got a general ledger structure. It's got all of our GL accounts rolling up into income statements and balance sheets within our account structure. We also have financial dimensions, and when you layer on GLs, legal entities, and then financial dimension tags, so these are things like cost center, profit center, project as an example, we then get a fully three-dimensional chart of accounts, which really aids the analysis. And I think what Microsoft are doing really well is to try and stop finance teams having to use Excel as a default for all of their reporting. And as we go through, I'll show you some more of those, but having the core detail of dimensions at each transactional level allows us to do that very easily. This is our account structure control. So you can imagine things like if you have an income GL, then you wouldn't want a cost being allocated to that. So within this account structure control, we can have mandatory posting types within each of those as well, just to avoid all of those missed postings that we're used to as finance people trying to find at month end. It tries to cut those off at the source. And then just the final piece on this one. So it does have fully modular open and closing for period end. So we can lock control accounts if we need to. They can be done on a legal entity by legal entity basis down here. And also on a ledger by ledger basis as well. So as we go through the month end, to avoid people back posting or changing anything that's already been reconciled, we do have that modular control access within the tool. I mean, just the final thing that I really like. So when I've run teams in the past, management of the month end, I think, is always quite cumbersome, and it's always done outside of the tool. So what Microsoft has done, they've introduced a financial period close workspace. I think where I like this is that you get this view, assuming that you've got access to it at managerial level. It allows you to, by company, area, and person, add in all of the different tasks that you would need to complete as part of the month end. What this is really good at doing, so for monitoring purposes, I can start and complete tasks within here. If I need to add in a workflow, so someone needs to approve something that I've done, I can add that in using that workflow functionality I mentioned a minute ago. But also I can then start adding items onto this as well. So it means that if I'm attaching evidence to this, then again, it makes that auditing process easier and that approval process easier because you've got the information in the core system. Okay, so that is the tool in its base format. What I wanted to do now is focus very much around more of the, I guess, the value add elements that Microsoft are introducing. So what we're seeing here, this is Microsoft Business Process Catalog, and Dynamics, being a full ERP, has full end-to-end capabilities across what we would normally term a CRM solution, all the way through to finance, and then going more into the reporting bit at the end. But these are all of the business processes that are covered by that. What I want to focus on is order to cash. I think it's there's some nice functionality to show what the standard tool does. So what we're looking at here, this is just the example end-to-end tool. So the three scenarios that we tend to deal with within this space are projects. So full project management and accounting functionality is available either just on its own or via the tool Project Operations, which is operational management of projects going into finance. We can do deals and sales agreements, and we can do single invoicing should we need to. I think it's important here that the light blue represents something that can be automated if that's what the business needs. So this one does full transactional items into sales ordering, creation of the invoice, and then credit and collections functionality in here, which then leads into reporting and eventually modern bank reconciliation. So I've pulled modern bank reconciliation out as a specific item. So what that means is that we can import bank statements into the tool. We can use that to automatically reconcile our banks to our transactions that we've got in our ledgers. We can create payments as well, and we can automatically push those into the bank. So what Microsoft are trying to do is to avoid us having to do, say, the reconciliations out in Excel, try and work out where our differences are, and then push that information back into our finance system. The tools are there to allow us to really only focus on the exceptions as opposed to every single transaction. But what I'm going to focus on as part of this demo is just the credit and collections piece. So jumping back into the tool again, one of our modules down here is credit and collections. So you can see at the top, we've got our workspaces. So we've got customer credit and collections in here. We've got a collections coordinator workspace. Now, both of these have now had AI introduced in them in two different ways. So first of all, this is one of our workspaces. You can see it's slightly different to the one that we looked at for general journal processing. So it does have in here some insights. So these are Power BI insights. It also has some analytics at the top here as well. So if I just click the analytics piece, and what you'll find as we go through is that a lot of the workspace have these embedded Power BI reports in them as standard. And I should note as well that everything that I'm showing you in here is within our MVP for finance. So there isn't anything in here that's been customized or changed. This is purely standard product. But you can see here that from a credit and collections perspective, we have things like collections overview. These can be updated in real time should we need to. We've got filters on this side if we need to access some additional information, and they are also we can click in them as well to try and change some of this information that we've got in the tool to try and, in this case, drill down into that to see actually what's going on with some of those reports. So what I clicked on there was the amounts overdue, and you can see here within the workspace that what it's done, it's taken me to my age debtors. So I can see here on one page, and again, similar look and feel to the list view that we had previously, is that we've got the amount due, we've got our aging profile, and we've got our credit limit as well. So the user of this information can see this, this extremely easily. You'll find as well that anything that's blue and underlined, we can click through to try and see a bit more about the information. So I'll click on the name of the customer, and what that will do, that will take me through into the next screen. So what this is having a look at here, this is our collections piece. So this is showing all of the open transactions that I've got in relation to this. It's showing me all of the open activities as well. And what this workspace allows us to do is, from a credit collections point of view, it manages that process within the system. So for these debts, if I want to change the collection status, I can in here. If I want to do actions, appointments or events, and add notes into these as well about what's happening with these particular debts, I have the functionality in here as well to do this. And again, it just stops having to do a lot of this information, these tasks outside of the system. And I know when I've managed teams in the past, very much downloading all of these comments into Excel, trying to update them on a daily basis is a bit of a nightmare, especially if you've got multiple people chasing debt for you. This allows you to automate a lot of that process. The other side as well, the customer account. So I've clicked into this one, and what this is doing, this is taking me into the customer card. So I can see all of my core information that I need in relation to the master data for this customer. But what's really nice about this, at the top here, we've got a Copilot driven status. So this is saying it's looking at the number of invoices, the value, the balances, payments that have been made, sales ordering, and anything that's open as well in relation to sales agreements and sales orders. So if you can imagine, this is pulling information from multiple places, and it's giving me a really nice status about what's happening with this customer. And then insights as well. So amount overdue, payments that have been made, invoices recorded, and any delays as well. I think what's really nice is if you start using cash flow functionality within the tool, this information is then used to do customer payment predictions as well. So I think just the last bit I want to show in relation to the workspaces. So this is our collection coordinator workspace. So what this is doing, this again is pulling information that I would need to start chasing some of these debts. So if I click on my customer account, wrong one, let me just go back. I click into the name. What this is doing, again, this is linking me into my collection coordinator workspace. You can see at the top here that we've got a summary by Copilot. This is bringing in all of the tasks and actions in relation to this customer, all of the aging balances, and all the contact details in one place. But I think what's really nice to see is that I can get the system using AI to create a reminder email for me to start chasing this debt. So again, the users of this wouldn't need to draft that email themselves. The system will create a draft email for them. And off the back of that, they can then obviously update it with any information that they need, and then start doing it. But this is just one example of lots of different functionality that are embedded within the core that Microsoft have included for us to make things a lot easier. And yeah, I think the last piece around this, so I mentioned as well that there is there are workspaces that are AI enabled, and one of the newer ones is this account reconciliation workspace. So what this is doing, this is reconciling our subledgers back into our GLs. You can see here that for period 11, I've got fully reconciled status across all of these. What I did was, I think it was period 7. Let me just have a look. You can see here that what is pulled out is actually from period 7, I've got some exceptions into this. So I'll have a click, see what is going on with these. And you can see there that actually there are 2 transactions where my ledgers don't agree. So what the system is doing for me is saying, right, I've got the option to either reverse them, create a journal entry to correct them, link the transactions, or accept it potentially if it's something that we know is going to reverse out, say, in the following month for any reason. But the system is doing this on its own. I'm not setting this up. This is pulling information actively to avoid me having to try and do this every day. So if you imagine you get to your month end, you're making sure all your ledgers are in alignment. This tool, as part of the standards, does that for us. Okay, so some more examples really about how finance AI is now enhancing D365. What I want to do with this one, this is a Payflow agent that HSO have created. So if I click this, hopefully you guys will be able to hear the sound that goes with it.
Let's start
Yeah,
the Pay agent demo by sending an email to accounts payable to check on the status of a couple invoices. Here's a quick little email to check in on invoice 23400 and 2782. I'll just go ahead and send that, and we'll see how Payflow will respond. While we're waiting for that to happen, let's go into Microsoft Dynamics 365 and take a look at those invoices. It looks like the second invoice, 2782, has a failed match status. We should expect Payflow to come back and tell us this hasn't been paid. Let's search for the first invoice, 23400. You can see it usually takes some time to find this information, even when you know what you're doing. Good news, it looks like this one has been paid and was settled on June 6th. We can also see that it was paid by check with a reference number 792. Now, we still don't know why the earlier invoice wasn't paid. Let's investigate. Look, there's an email buried in my inbox that has relevant information that impacts the status of this payment. In this case, there's a weather event that's delayed the delivery, and that the new expected delivery date is June 12th. Let's pop back over to the top of our inbox, and it looks like Payflow has found what we're looking for and automatically sent a reply. We can see that invoice 23400 was paid, and the status of invoice 2782 includes the latest details impacting the payment and the expected delivery date.
So you can see that this is a really nice example.
to
Oh, 1 second. Let me just go to the next one.
HSO today.
Here we go. So yeah, it's a really nice example of a retrieval agent linked into the core Dynamics 365 tool. What I wanted to show you next is another example. So the first one really was a really good example of a retrieval agent built using Copilot Studio and linked into Dynamics. So again, it's allowing users to be able to get that information. And you can imagine if, for this instance, if you've got someone that is sitting outside of the finance team, or it could potentially be a supplier that's chasing for payment, it's very easy then to see how this technology can then be used to avoid finance being asked for all of those questions. What I then wanted to show, so HSO built an internal expenses agent linked into projects within D365. So let me just open that up, which is this one. I just wanted to show you an example of some of the things that I've put in here, really as a test. So this is a Phoenix agent allows us to capture time, but this is embedded within the Teams app. So what I've done with this example, from my phone, I've taken a picture of my receipt. I've then sent it via Teams into here. And what the system has done is extracted the key details for the image. This was one for a CFO roundtable that I did focus around AI. But what it's done, it's selected the project. So it's seen that it could be an internal project. And then down here as well, from that, it's added the activity, the category, the date, the currency, the amount, and the tax. And all I had to do in here was add in that it was a CFO roundtable item. But this is a good example of using OCR based AI technology to extract, retrieve the information, and then what it's doing is using a task agent. So we're orchestrating multiple agents here to then push this information into Dynamics, ready for approval from my manager. I tried it as well. So this is a screenshot from this was a taxi receipt, and then this was another one from parking. And using this relatively straightforward set of agents that we've developed internally, again using Copilot Studio, all of the information came out. So rather than this taking me 10-15 minutes to do, it was literally done in a couple of minutes. But I think it's a really nice example of using different elements of AI agents to be able to process this technology for us. Okay, let me just go back into here. So the last one I wanted to show you as well, so you can probably remember that if I go back into my home space, one of the elements that we've got within here is the finance agents, which is linked into Excel. And I was a little bit skeptical about this when I first looked at it, but I just wanted to show you the results. So what I wanted to do here as an example was to do a reconciliation between my AR subledger data, which I've had on tab number 1, and my general ledger data, which I've got on tab number 2. What I did from here was on this right hand side, I have the option within Finance Reconciliation here to add in the 2 tables that I wanted the AI tool to reconcile for me. Down here, it's already suggested which columns it expects me to match. So this is vendor number, a customer number, currency, and GBP value. And then all I did once I'd done that is accepted it and clicked on reconcile data. So what the tool's done in the background, it's created this AR data reconciled tab for me. It's then done the same with the GL, and then it's given me a final reconciliation report at the end. So this is reconciled AR data, reconciled GL data, showing me anything in there that's unmatched. So again, it's just allowing me to look at the exceptions for things that aren't reconciled. It's got potentially matched transactions in the middle, and then all of these down here are matched transactions. And it's given me a nice little summary at the beginning. But I think before I worked at HSO doing this kind of reconciliation at month end, you have to pull the information out into Excel. You have to use pivot tables or lookup tables to be able to get this information. This was done in 5 minutes, and it's given me that summary. So rather than me focusing on just transactions, manipulating the data to be able to get the views that I need, this tool has done that for me, taken away the legwork. So I just need to now focus on these ones to find out actually why is it that this information is missing. Okay, so it's going back into here. I think the last thing that I just wanted to highlight is the reporting options within the standard Dynamics tool. So we have an inbuilt tool called Financial Reporter, which gives us full drill down capabilities, and we've got 22 default reports. So that will be linked into your accounting structure. It allows us to do consolidation if we need to, but really I think having a tool that's sort of Excel based allows us to drill down into the transactional level, and we can customize those reports if we need to. I think is a really nice embedded tool. We've seen examples of some of the workspaces when we're looking at credit and collections. There are 80 workspaces in total, and within those we've got over on this side, we've got 79 different reports within those workspaces that are standard. I'll show you some one of the other ones in a minute around Finance Insights, but these are all standard reports. So if you think you've got 22 here showing your P&L, your balance sheet, your cash flow, and then doing month-on-month analysis, these are all part of this 22. We also have business documents in here. So this is our sort of classic SSRS type of reports. And we did an analysis of these this week, and there were about 650 inquiries and reports as standard. So it might be a customer statement. It could be an age debtor balances. It could be a trial balance inquiry. but we've got 650 of those available as standard. And again, it stops you having to do all of this reporting outside of the tool in Excel. We've got all of these available. And then the final one on here is electronic reporting. So where this is really important, this is a functionality that allows us to connect to third parties, such as HMRC for Making Tax Digital. So the tool is fully Making Tax Digital compliant. There's no need to use a bridging software or anything similar to that. We have that in there available for us. It also allows us to connect to things like banks, so imports and exports of bank statements and bank payments. That's using that same functionality. I mentioned we've got Power BI based reporting. That includes the XP&A apps, so business performance planning and business performance analytics. And then really, if we want to, and this is where the tool I think is really powerful, we can have a data platform approach. And when we add in things like Foundry and Fabric, Power BI, and all of the tools that are powered by AI, all of those data insights allow us to then visualize that data in a really powerful way. And then I think the last point on here before I pass back to Michael, this is one of those examples of one of the Power BI embedded workspaces. And I'll just go back into the tool just so that you can see what that actually looks like. So if I go into my general ledger and I expand these as well, within the workspaces, we've got finance analysis for all companies or just the current company that we're looking in. So I'll click into the current company. So what this is doing in the background, you see loading Power BI again. This is giving me snapshots of data based on live information. So I don't need to worry about, like you might have done historically, having a look at running overnight reports to be able to get that information and then updating it on the next day. This is doing it in real time, so that if I'm posting journals or trying to understand actually what the effect is going to be on my my revenue, margin, income, you can see that it's loading up at the top here. These will then be available to me and updated as we need to. So I've just changed this one so that we're looking at the same legal entity, but it gives a really nice snapshot of the data that I need to have a look at. See here, expenses by category, for example. That's something, again, you'd have to pull out into Excel normally. But we've got subledger insights, data, trial balances, balance sheets, income statements by regions. So all of these, again, these are standard reports out of the box that Microsoft have given us to allow us to leverage the data and the finances in the tool. So that's it. That's showing some of the core solution, how it works, some of the just the tools we've got available to us. It's showing us some examples around some of the agentic AI that we've built around it. So that was the Payflow agent looking at insights into purchase information, the BNex agent, and then the finance reconciliation agent as well. And it gives you an example as well of some of the reporting capabilities that we've got available as standard.
Thank you, kind sir. That was really quite useful. Even I understood it, and hopefully you guys did as well. Thank you. So a couple of things. This will take no more than a couple of minutes. So I just want to say thank you, Gary, for taking us through that session. Hopefully you guys got something very useful out of it. And as I said at the beginning, want to make sure that you've got a next action as well as taking away some useful information. So it's going to take no more than a minute or two. So the MVP that Gary's kind of talking about there and alluding to, a lot of that functionality that Gary's just gone through is available within our MVP for finance solution. But we also have different solutions, different approaches to different things. So for example, data maturity assessment will help you develop a data platform which your finance system might end up sitting on top of, or something, or your AI strategy might be built off. AI readiness, if you want to look at, for example, you have a finance system and some of those AI examples that Gary went through, you want to see whether they're a fit for your organization or how they could be shaped to be a fit for your organization. And AI readiness sort of assessment will help with digital contact centers and obviously the rapid finance stuff. So the point really is for this session is, or this section is, If any of what Gary's gone through, if any of what I talked about is of use, what we tend to do is basically just sit down and go through your existing processes, technologies, and approaches today, look at where you want to get to, and kind of help you map a path to getting there. And if finance is one of those things, then we can also sit down and have a chat with you and then figure out a route forward there as well. For example, and this is why it's quite useful, is that this is just an example of an AI readiness type assessment. But the main thing here, as well as the process that we take you through, is the thing in orange at the top there, is Microsoft funding is available. Now, as a top tier, which sounds really egotistical, and I apologize, it's not meant to sound like that, but what it means is that we're able to tap into Microsoft funding. So any of the types of assessments that we would put forward for you to take advantage of to figure out your path forward with any of this technology, we can get funding from Microsoft, so it won't cost you a bean. And that, from a public sector point of view, must be music to your ears, right? Because budgets are constrained permanently, it seems. So yeah, so if any of this is of interest, let's have a chat and we can help you get some funding to move some of this action forward. Now, on the final slide of the session, thank you, please bear with me, is this. So the thing on the left, I've got 4 questions. If you hover over that QR code, what that's going to do is I want to send you the recording and I want to send you the slides, but I cannot do that unless you complete the 4 questions, which is simply your name, your organization, and what is it? I can't even remember what it is, email address. So I can actually send these off to you, because the way when you register for Soccer Team, it's a double opt-in, so they can't always share the information. So please, 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 if you want the session, please complete the details. It'll take you no more than 20 seconds at best. As well as sending you the slides, I'll give you access, or I'll point you to 3 things there on the right hand side, which is the first one is Agent in a Day, in no date particular order. Agent in a Day. So if you want to get hands-on with AI technology, and specifically Copilot Studio, we have a free all-day training session that you can take advantage of there. The second thing is it's easy to read it in your head. You just can't read it out loud. Top Copilot prompts and agents for product managers. Again, it's a webinar. It's free and online, but it will help you if you want to build up your prompting. And the final thing, which kind of alludes into, or is a segue from this session as well, is our own lunch and learn sessions. Really light, really easy, really informative. The return investment of adding AI to business applications like finance. And that's on the 27th of November, all really useful. So I hope you filled in those 4 questions so I can get you the slides. I'm going to go there and then just literally go back there, because I want you to QR code it. So the last thing, final thing for me to say is thank you, Gary, for joining and giving pearls of wisdom. I hope you all got something useful out of it. Thanks for joining us today. We've been HSO, I've been Michael Lonnan, and hopefully we'll be in touch and we'll speak very soon. Enjoy the rest of your days, enjoy the rest of your weeks, and take care of yourselves, and we will see you soon.